Well, hello everyone. This is Thursday Night Live with Broken But Not Wasted Ministries. Pastor Sarah Batroni. I am absolutely thrilled to be in your home tonight, especially with the beautiful guests that we have on the platform. All right, and I know you've seen the flyer, you've seen the announcement, and you are really waiting for this. All right, you're expecting it. Hey, this is Thursday night, and as you know, we bring you the social aspect of our lives. Again, I've always said this is about information, education, preparation for our next step, our next level, our next season in our lives. If we're just being prepared through sound information that we can actually apply to our lives so we can progress not just spiritually but socially in every area, every aspect, every domain of our lives. So, without any further ado, you see this beautiful picture behind me. Let me introduce her to you properly. Her name is Altonese Fanalis. She is an assistant county attorney in the Miami-Dade County Attorney's Office. She currently practices in the Aviation Division of the Miami-Dade County Attorney's Office, where she litigates commercial and construction disputes and provides counsel on transportation matters on behalf of Miami International Airport and the county's general aviation airports. She also works with the Board of County Commissioners and staff to provide legal advice and to prepare and review ordinances and resolutions on behalf of the board. Altonese has had the distinct honor of successfully arguing two appeals before the 3rd District Court of Appeal, one concerning a constitutional challenge to Miami-Dade County's environmental regulations, and the other involving issues of notice and sovereign immunity. I know this sounds like blah, 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 but this is what has been going on in her life. I'm excited. And as part of service to her community, Altonese has served as president, listen to this, as president of the Haitian Lawyers Association and currently serves as a teen court judge and big sister. As part of her bar service, she currently serves as governor of the Florida Bar Board of Governors Young Lawyers Division and member of the 11th Judicial Circuit Grievance Committee and previously served as governmental liaison to the Florida Bar Board of Governors. Altonese speaks on various panels. She's been featured in articles and has been recognized for her hard work and exceptional service. She was awarded Top 20 Under 40 Young Professionals by the Haitian American Chamber of Commerce. She's earned her Bachelor's of Art in Political Science and Juris Doctor from Florida International University. Wow, please help me welcome Counsel Altonese Fanalis to this platform and please share as you come on. Counsel, welcome to
Hi.
you. I'm so excited to have you tonight.
Thank
How
you. I'm
are
excited to
you?
be here. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm well. How are you?
Very, very good. Thank you. I'm doing wonderful, and we are really, really pleased to have you. Thank you for accepting this invitation to grace our platform with your presence and to share some knowledge with our audience. This is well needed in our community, and this is what Thursday Night Live is all about. So, after I've read all of this, this is so impressive, so very impressive. Now, please tell us something that we do not know about you. Tell us something, a hobby, anything, a nickname, a pet that you have, anything that we don't know. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, a hobby that I actually picked up during the pandemic is something I'm super into right now. I began cycling, and I actually had my very first cycling race The, 2 weekends ago in Sebring, Florida. It was a 90-mile race, and it was 90 miles nonstop on a bike. And I actually got the best time I've ever had. And it was great. I love cycling, and that's been something that I'm going to continue.
Wow, how fascinating. Cycling during the pandemic.
Yeah, because
Is it something that
I love working out, and it was a way to still be able to get out, even though gyms were closed and all of that. So,
Okay, wow. And you've done a 90-mile nonstop, right?
yeah,
On a bike.
you're right. Right.
Wow. So listen, guys, she's working out. It's not just, up here, but she takes care of herself. That's wonderful. And they're saying congratulations. So let us dive into our conversation, our discussion tonight. Again, thank you for being here. What, how is it that you became an attorney? You have your juris doctor from Florida International University, and from what I see here in just a tad bit of your bio, it's a lot of accomplishments that you've had during your career as an attorney. So, what pushed you to become an attorney? Was there something special?
Um, there was no particular moment in my life. I always remember um, growing up as a child that I would draw pictures of myself with a briefcase. And so I always had an idea, and I always knew, hey, I want to be an attorney. And my family in general, particularly my sister, we've always been into the justice system in general. And so I knew this was going to be a path that I would be on because of our interest in the justice system and seeing things on the TV. And then, of course, with my family being from Haiti, their idea of what the judicial system or the justice system is skewed because of the corruption in Haiti. And so it was like, hey, all the more drive to get in there and figure out what it is here in America.
Absolutely, got you. Um, was there, because of their skewed viewpoint of the judicial system in Haiti, when you told them that you would be an attorney, what was their reaction? Did they actually encourage you, or what was it like? Oh, petit palfou, avocat. I know you are our product, okay, and we love to feature our Haitian professionals, young professionals, beautiful, young and successful like you. So what was it like when you told your parents that, yeah, I'm gonna be in the judicial system?
They were thrilled, especially my dad. Before he passed away, he always would have this idea. He would say, "Oh, when you're in your office, I'm going to be able to call up and just say, 'Hey, I need to speak to my daughter.'" And he always just had this idea of how it would be when I was an attorney. He sort of just imagined it, and he was always so proud. So they were very happy about it.
Wonderful. That's great to hear. And speaking of your dad, tell us a little bit about him. I know you've told us that he is passed away, and we do present you our condolences. When that event happened in your life, in your young professional life, 4 years ago, how did that affect you,
Um,
career-wise?
yeah,
Because I mean, like you said, he was just like so expecting all of this in your life, and for him not to really be there. How did that affect you personally?
yeah. It was very difficult. And even before his passing, my dad had been sick for some years with diabetes, and so it was always a struggle and a battle of him being in and out of the hospital. And I remember even a time when I was studying for the bar, which, after I spoke to my family and said, hey, I need to be in seclusion. I'm not going to be able to speak to you all that often. And but there was an incident that happened actually 3 days before I had to take the bar exam, where he was rushed to the hospital, and it was a very serious case. And I had to stop my studies and rush to the hospital. And thankfully he was okay. But even that sort of threw me off. But I was thankful that God, helped me to get back on track and continue studying. And then, of course, ultimately passing the bar exam the first time. And then when he did pass away some years later, I was thankful that he at least saw me graduate and see a couple of years into my career. But it has been difficult, and it was a very difficult time. But I have a way of dealing with difficult situations, and it just sort of fueled me to continue to strive and dig deeper. And that's sort of my way of coping. I'm not saying it's the best way, but I sort of dug even deeper into work, and I was able to accomplish some of the biggest victories in my career. One of my successful arguments before the Third District Court of Appeal happened months after my dad passed away. And so sort of having him here and feeling him was my drive.
So it fueled you. I mean, that's just the type of person that you are. Just not digging, your head in the sand, but even trying to get to soar even higher. That's great. So now we have Miss Stacy Basile. Hi, Stacy. She is a young lady. She is she just started at FIU this year. All right. So
Okay.
that's why she's saying go Panthers.
Yeah.
So this question, I know that's gonna help her because she wants to get into policy. Now, serving as a um, board of county commissioners, and currently you are serving as governor of the Florida Bar Board of Governors Young Lawyers Division. What are currently, or what were your highlights? What are your highlights, your favorite highlights during your career, your administration? What would you tell young Stacy Basile who wants to become an attorney? Um, Tell us a bit about that, your
Uh, eh,
highlights, what you've loved more, your success, and so on and so forth.
with in those particular in the Board of Governors or in general?
And in general, just take it away. Tell us the favorite things, the highlights that you've had in your during your career, your administration, because obviously it's really, really extensive. We wouldn't have the time to go over all that.
So I would say, thank you for that question, Stacy, and go Panthers. I love FIU, so I love to see that you're a fellow Panther. Um, so I'll break this down, I guess, into two different highlights. My favorite highlight of my professional career in terms of work at the Miami-Dade County Attorney's Office is my very first argument before the Third District Court of Appeal, because I was only out of law school maybe 2.5 years when I was able to argue this case. And the beauty about my office is that they trust you. Of course, they're training you, but they trust you, and you have autonomy. It's not like a law firm where the partner would sort of take the case from you and then just go forth and argue. I was able to argue my own appeal, had a lot of preparation from senior attorneys in my office, but I was able to argue it successfully, and had so many compliments from, fellow attorneys who I respect. And so that was a big highlight because of where I was in my career. I was young, and I'm still young, I'd like to think. I was young, and I was excited to take on the challenge, and that was a great highlight of mine. The highlight, I would say, in my service, the service aspect of my professional career, is my time as president of the Haitian Lawyers Association. I really, really love bar service, where I'm assisting attorneys, but my passion is also and more so with assisting the community at large, because they don't have access to the information that attorneys have access to, or to the resources attorneys have access to. So when, being able to put on clinics where we are assisting with, filling out immigration papers, being able to provide the proper information during the ICE raids, which happened during my administration as president of the Haitian Lawyers Association, getting on the radio, putting out certain know your rights information, that for me was the absolute best.
And serving and service in giving back to your community. And tell us a little bit about that. How, as a young attorney, that made you feel to stick for the community and to let them know their rights on the radio. How rewarding is that?
It was extremely rewarding, and to see, and not just the broad, speaking on a broad level, but to see actual faces and to interact with people on a one-on-one basis, to see the hope in their eyes after you give them advice, or you connect them with the proper resources, or you send them on their way after helping them fill out something, or you speak to them because they're calling, and asking for to get an attorney in this field or that. That for me is extremely rewarding, and it was a lot of work, and it takes away from your work that I'm getting paid for, but it was so important to me that, you know, I, I had to do it, and I love to do it, and I want to, I do continue to do it, but just in different avenues now that I've already done that part.
I can just imagine, we can just imagine how grateful these people are to you and whoever else was working with you to get them to stay, to remain in the country where they can actually build a future for their family, a future for their children. And who knows, some of them will become just like you.
Right.
All right. Yes, absolutely. So we can just imagine. So in terms of challenges, you said that was the law firm where you were at 2 years after you became an attorney. They trusted you to defend, to step in, and to have that litigation. Was it a I wanna use the right term. Successfully arguing, all right, counsel. Successfully arguing the two appeals. Now, what were, academically speaking, now you've met that challenge and you were successful after your schooling and all that, and the training that you've received. Tell us about the time when you were in school. How challenging was that? I know you said your sister and yourself, you were always into the judicial system, but what were the barriers? What were the hurdles that you had to overcome, or the obstacles, being a minority, and so on and so forth? I mean, talk to us about that. And you're free to talk to us in Creole
Oh,
as you wish, okay? Parce moun yo vle tande e Creole la tout nan bouche petit peuple la, right? Because you are ours, even though you were born here. If you want to talk in Creole, speak in Creole, that's fine. Even if it's broken, we don't mind.
I was gonna say it's not
So,
us.
meto à l'aise, ok? Se produit pays yon ye, se produit panou ye, se produit Haiti. I mean, people, sa se pa ti bagay kap di la. Yon nan ti moun nou yo, ok? Give me a second, counsel. Li travay avèk board na county Miami commissioner, ok? Li kampe, li defend cause, ok, na third district court, na tribunal, li genyen, ok? Li te servi kom prezident um, Lawyers Association, avocat association da Haïtien, ok? Kounye ya la servi kom on juge pou ti moun adolesan yo. So sa vle di ke, this is big, sa se petit panou, partaje live lan, s'il vous plaît, and a big sister who mentors young kids. Alright, e kounye ya la, kote l chita la servi kom governor, ok, de bar Floride lan, Board of Governors de avocat, jeune avocat yo, division jeune avocat yo. So this is big. I'm sure she had encountered many challenges during her schooling, her pursuing of higher education. Parlez-nous de ça, counsel, please.
Yeah. Thank you for um, bringing in the pre-op portion. I'm going to try to do the same, but of course, like you noted, it will be a bit broken. But I did experience challenges. The first barrier in law school, I think for most minorities, is the mental barrier. You are accepted into law school. You did all of the things that you were supposed to do to get in, but now you're in, and you're sitting in a room full of people who don't look like you. There may be sprinkles of other minorities, but there aren't that many. And so you think to yourself, oh my goodness, am I going to be able to pull this off? Or, you just hear whispers because, of course, people are saying, oh, what did you get on your LSAT? Da, 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 da. And they're comparing and trying to already tear you down by asking you your stats. And so those were the things that I started to think of, like, oh my gosh, I don't have this. I didn't have this score. I didn't get in with that. And so you you start to compare, and you have all these mental barriers and these mental, you're playing like mental gymnastics, right? About whether you can actually do what God has already set in stone for you to do. You're there. And so that was one of the major challenges. And then the other was the actual people who would make, certain comments, very, passive aggressive comments or these microaggressions that I know that many of my fellow minorities know about. And so, those were some of the things that I dealt with. And I remember one particular time when I was arguing a moot court, which is an appellate mock sort of argument with my partner. And there was whispers around the law school that they had to knock us out of the competition first because we were the biggest threat and we got to get them out. And in the end, because they're so worried about us and trying to do all of these manipulative things, in the end, we ended up winning the competition. But we did hear about people making those sorts of comments. And I just thought to myself, I just want to do my best. And I just want to, but those were some of the challenges. And the thing I would say to someone like Rebecca, I don't know if Rebecca is a young attorney, but I'm sorry, the other young lady who's a fellow Panther, Stacy Bazil, you can sometimes be your biggest barrier. And so what you have to remind yourself of is that you are already ready. You are already prepared. You are in that space because you were meant to be in that space. So you walk with confidence. You walk knowing that, God placed you there, and you put in the work, of course, because if you don't, you're just not going to do well. But you have to know without a shadow of a doubt that you deserve to be there just as much, if not more, than everybody else in that room. And so that is the thing that you constantly have to tell yourself in law school. And I still have to tell myself that till this day, walking into courtrooms or into certain spaces. Those are the things that's what I would say to someone like a Stacy.
Right, very well said. And I certainly can identify with what you said, that they had to knock you guys out. Was your partner another minority?
Yeah, she is. Yep.
Okay. And I can certainly identify because while I was in grad school, every year there's a competition for healthcare professionals between, it was between my school and FIU and FAU. And the first year, basically, some of us did not even know about the competition. The second year, we were close to graduating, 2.5 years, and we heard about it, and they said, but well, Sarah would be a great presenter for to represent our school. But Sarah is too religious. Yeah, Sarah is too religious. But long story short, just to say how I identify with what you're saying, when people do not want you to move ahead, you can only stop yourself. So I went ahead, and I don't know if they voted me or nominated, I don't know, but I became the captain of the team who would represent my school against your school and FAU. Well, the one who was too religious, or maybe because of this, we ended up winning that year.
Nice.
After maybe 4 years, 3 or 4 years of them losing second place. So we ended up winning that year. So nobody can stop you as long as you're prepared. You go with confidence, like you said, into the space that God has allowed you to step in. No one can stop you. Yes. So Stacy, there, here it is. And after now you graduated, how hard was it for you to get actually work?
Um,
If you don't have, how hard was it for you pour te percer, pour te entrer là-dedans, pour te joindre un bon travail? And hold that thought a minute. Speaking of challenges in school, we had another counsel, young, beautiful lady here a few weeks ago, beginning of October, I believe, Vanessa, Counsel Bonnie. And she said she did not have all the resources that other students had. She had to take notes when other students were typing away on their laptops. And we know that an pil nan nou pa soti nan fami ki eze, ki wish ki kabot tout bagay. Was that a barrier for you also? Partager lifeline, thanking you guys for liking, but nous besoin partager too. How hard was that? Were the resources there for you, or did they constitute a barrier?
so I didn't have issues with, technology. Um, my mom was able to, purchase that for me, or I was able to use some of the scholarship funds I had. I believe either one of the two happened. But the barriers I did have in terms of not having certain access to resources was, I don't have anyone in my family um, who was an attorney or who could just say, hey, go and shadow this person in their office, ask this person for advice, get this information. I didn't have any of that. I didn't have the benefit of that. And a lot of my fellow classmates did. Their dads or mothers or grandfathers or aunts or uncles had law firms or were attorneys. And so they had that opportunity, but I didn't have that.
PLC comment. So
Oui.
now let's go back to that question. After you actually graduated, how hard, how tough was it for you to actually find work? Because there was no such thing as an uncle or, your father or granddad or whatever. How hard was it?
So it wasn't hard for me, thank God, because I had an internship while I was in law school with the county attorney's office, the same place that I am right now. And they offered me a job straight out of law school. And so I started to work immediately out of law school.
And okay, wonderful. Because after you graduate and you can't find work, it's a bummer. It's
Yeah.
definitely a bummer. Talk to us about that big sister part. of your bio? What is it? What
Yeah.
do you do as a
So
big sister?
the Big Brother Big Sister program, as you know, and I know a lot of people know, it's a mentorship program, and so I'm able to, as a big sister, meet with my little sister, and mentor. Sometimes you have a little sister who is interested in the same field of work you're in, or not. Mine is. I believe she is now graduated or graduating, and we lost some contact because of the pandemic and because of the nature of where we were, and so but I still mentor even outside of Big Brother, Big Sister. I do a lot of mentoring of law students, young attorneys. I'm always available. Anytime they call. I also mentor middle school students. I go and talk to students at middle schools, high schools. I love mentoring because for me, mentorship and relationships have been what have truly helped propel me into certain areas of my life. I have a mentor who is my former boss, who is always so adamant about how important relationships are, um, and I took that and I truly live by that because a lot of times you can do your absolute best. You can be the best in a particular field, but if they don't know who you are, if they don't know, if you don't have the access, if you don't have that relationship, you may not get in the door. And so building relationships, networking, um, reaching out, um, those things are very, very important. And I think just as important as working hard.
Absolutely. And that was going to be the next question. How important is mentorship in advancing in whatsoever field that one chooses to have as a career?
It's extremely important, particularly in the legal field. A lot of times you see, and people whisper, "How did that person get that position? How did this person become judge?" And how did the governor, appoint this person? Um, Sometimes, they are still qualified. I would hope that they're not just there because, and they're completely unqualified. They're qualified, but I think a lot of times people make those statements because they're comparing them to the other list of candidates who may be on that same list who was considered, and they think, but this person had all of these other accolades. Well, that person didn't know Susie, or that person didn't know Mike or Eddie. And so relationships, mentorship is so important. Truly not just, you know, giving lip service to say, oh, I have this mentor, but actually cultivating that relationship, having coffee, reaching out, and having mentors at different levels of their career. So don't just have a mentor who may be my age, also have a mentor who's older and who's more advanced in their career. So I have several mentors. And I encourage people to have several mentors because each can give you different things, and perhaps not just having mentors who are only attorneys, because, you know, other people are able to offer you just as much in their respective fields.
Great, great point, Council. So, our mindset at times can hold us back. Mentalite pa nou kapap di ke, well, people may think that you're just out for grabs, you're always trying to get with the big guys, and you think you're somebody going out to coffee and things like that. We want to stay with our own, da 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 da. How do you tackle that? I see you smiling. You probably got that end of the stick at some point, and tell us about that.
Yeah, I think that's all nonsense. I say ignore it. I think it's complete baloney.
Ignore
Um,
it.
yeah,
Ignore it.
yeah, because you have to take control of your career and your path to success and whatever you want that to look like. And if you know that there are certain things in this formula that have to happen, who cares what the chatter is, because they cannot, and unless you allow them to, dictate where you go. And so I think that's nuts. I think you, it takes, you can't do anything on your own. You can't remain in your own silo, whether that looks like only Black people, only women, only white people, only that. It's got to be diverse. It's got to look and feel like, I'm not just in this alone. And don't, find mentors or reach out to people who don't truly care about you, right? I mean, if they don't truly care about where you're going in your life, just because they're in a certain place, if they don't want you in that place, or they could care less about where you go, do not kiss their behinds and, and just sort of niche budayo, right? Is what they say. Don't do that, because that's not what, because that they don't want that for you. You want people who genuinely want the best for you. And so, and however they may look. So I would say, I would ignore those sorts of comments and continue to cultivate the relationships and build the relationships that suit you.
Absolutely, because in reality, the comments and opinions, yo 2 pour 5 sou
Mhm.
marché, wap toujou jwen komentèr sa yo, epi wap kite moun nan stop you from getting to your destiny. And Dr. Duvernay is also saying she believes in divine encounters, and that's so
Yeah.
true. Um, uh, so a lot of times we tend to cling naturally to our own, right? But from what you're saying, you have to have diversity, a diverse environment, and also see if the person believes in you, if the person wants to, if the person is interested in you, right? In
Yes.
who you are and where you want to be in life, right? And not just surround yourself with the same Uncle Joe bozo here who cannot do a thing for you, who
Right.
don't know anything. Um, I can give you another example. One time I was at Publix and I just grabbed some cash. I didn't have a card or anything. I just grabbed the cash and I went in there. Tried to get a few items and I was short 85 cents. And I said, okay, certainly the cashier is going to help me. It was during the time of elections. And I'm like, okay, there's that divide in the country now. Da, da. And I'm thinking, well, she's going to help me. It's just 85 cents. And I'm like, do you have 85 cents you can put? This is my store. I just don't have that with me. And she's like, no. And the bagger, the same. They just like, no. Do you know that a little blonde hair, blue eyed girl was just coming back from her break? She's like, oh, I'll put it on my card for you. No, 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 no. I'll just put it on my card for you. She put it on her card. So when I went out there driving off, I found $5 cash and I drove back and I said, please call her. And I gave her $5. So here I am expecting something from this particular group of people.
Right.
The answer was not there. The answer was with someone else.
Yeah.
So can we learn from these things on everyday life? Yes, we can. And this is great that you're bringing the point of diversity and to just go after um, the resources that are there. What else can you share with us at that level? How do you, well, you said that you have to see that the person is interested in who you are and where you're going. What else? What other criterion? What's another criterion there that we should look for, that Stacy should look for?
So I'd say another um, criterion would be, where are they in their career? Is this where you want to be? You're sort of, are you looking to emulate that person? And so, looking at where they are, reading their bio, reading their resume, and saying, hey, do I want to emulate this? And will I be able to gain from this? And it's not just so you can just take, because I believe many times mentors get a lot from their mentees as well. Um, Yeah, I was reading Stacy's comment. I agree with that, Stacy, and I do want to make a point about that. But many times, I think mentors and mentees benefit. A mentor can benefit just as much from a mentee, and so um, it's not just where you're taking; you're also many times giving. But when assessing, how that relationship will go, I think you look at whether this is the track you want to emulate, and what you would be able to gain, or what you would be able to gain from that relationship, even if you don't want to emulate that specific track that individual, went on. And I think and another thing I think is important is considering that person's level of integrity, because you want to have a mentor um, who is who is very serious about being a professional and ethical attorney. We have serious ethical issues in the legal field. I don't think it's as rampant as people make it seem. We hear all of these negative comments about attorneys. I honestly work with and have encountered some of the most ethical and straightforward attorneys, but there are issues. And so you want to make sure you connect yourself with the right people who are who show integrity, people who don't have issues with judges, where if they walk into a courtroom, everyone's whispering about them, because there are those attorneys out there, because they're always, doing something underhanded. They're never, telling the whole truth. There's always something. And so you want to make sure you're connected with the right people. And that sort of goes to um, uh, Stacy's point about sometimes it's hard to advance if you have the wrong people. You have to eliminate the wrong people, and you have to make sure you're connected with the right source.
Absolutely. Tell me who you haunt. Tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you who
Yeah.
you are. And that will hinder your advancement later on, because they'll know that, hey, that person have already given her all these tricks that he's had.
Yeah.
You know, tutuna mashli yol kita pasil by tibitita,
Yes.
So, if you see, you said check out their bio, where they're going, and what they're standing for, integrity, and so on and so forth, and you reach out to them, and for some reason they're not really reaching back, um, what do? You just leave it alone and move on to the next person who might have some interest in you? Yes.
No, I honestly, a lot of times, whoever you're trying to get to become your mentor, is probably a very important person, a very busy person. So sometimes they're not going to respond immediately. Sometimes they're small. You have to follow up. It's not going to be the first time. It may not even be the second time. You don't want to be, you know, rude, or just like overly um, communicative if ignoring you. But you do need to follow up and try multiple times. But I'd probably say after the third or fourth try, with multiple different avenues, not just only email, because maybe they don't check that email, maybe they lost it, but trying their office, and then also their cell, if you have their cell phone. And then if that, if you still get nothing, then you sort of leave it, and maybe in 6 more months or in a year you try again. But you should move on to trying to build other relationships.
Let me ask you, in terms of mentorship or relationship that you come to develop with mentors along the way, have you found it easier to connect with certain uh, individuals from a certain population? Or, okay, let's say it. Have you found it easier to connect or to be mentored by people from your own race, or is it easier to reach out to other races, Caucasian, Spanish, and are they more open to share what they know? What has been your experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. My experience has been I have been able to relate more to other Black women, and I have had some of the best mentorship relationships with Black women attorneys or Black women in general. And I think, because one, they understand where I am and some of the barriers that I face and some of the issues that I'm dealing with as a young Black female attorney. And so you're able to immediately relate on that level. And they're sort of able to help you navigate immediately just from that space alone, that someone who does not look like me is unable to truly understand. Um, in other instances where I've reached out to mentors who do not look like me, it's just we've been able to connect, but just not on that level, and so it hasn't been an immediate an immediate hey, I feel you. So it's just been a different avenue that you take in that relationship, but I've still been able to cultivate that relationship. But some of my closest have been with other Black women.
Wonderful. And I'm very glad to hear that. But so when mentality no c'est comme si we're always trying to hold back on each other or compete or what have you. So it's very great to hear that others um, from our own have been able to help you in your path of success. What advice, Dr. Duvernay is asking, what advice would you give to the community at large about ethics?
That's a great question, and I'm trying to think about how to answer it. Ethics, I think, in the legal profession is one thing, but ethics in general, so the community at large. I'd say, I think ethics is something that it's not something that has to be taught, right? And so it's so important that any individual, it doesn't matter whether you're an attorney, it doesn't matter what field you're in, whether you're white collar, blue collar, being an ethical individual, having integrity is so extremely important. It will take you to levels and to spaces that that you never thought you'd be in. I've never found that doing things the roundabout way and the crooked way, that has never, first of all, I don't go that way, but that has never been a thought in my mind where I think, oh, I can get here by, doing something underhanded. First, it would just be a sore spot in my own heart that I would always or constantly think about. And secondly, it's just not right, and it's going to catch up to you. And so my advice would be, don't do it, because it's gonna catch up to you eventually, whether it's on your job. Someone's gonna find out about that unethical thing you did, or whether it's, on a personal level. It's gonna catch up to you, even if no one finds out. It's going to catch up to you and probably eat you alive. And so I never think that I don't think that that's the way to go about.
Right. In speaking about academics, when you were in school, you did mention that you have to be confident in what God had placed in your hand, in the space that He's given you to become who or what He's called you to become. I'm paraphrasing. What has been God's role in your life for you to get thus far?
God is huge. For me, I'm having a personal relationship with God. I do go to church. I love church. Thank God, because my mom raised me in church, and I wasn't never really like wanted to go to church growing up. But then all of a sudden, when I'm out the house, I'm like church, 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 church. Throughout college, getting involved in campus ministry, and then ultimately in law school, making sure that I still had a relationship with God. And in fact, when I was taking the LSAT and applying for law school, I prayed because I was nervous. I guess because there was some chatter and just all these bad things about lawyers that people would say, and I just kept saying, God, please keep me. I don't want to, I don't want to lose you. I need you, and I don't want to be a lawyer. And all of a sudden, I'm this terrible person. It's just that was the perception that people were giving, and so it was like a prayer of mine, and I asked God for confirmation, and I was able to get that. And I was just I just felt so much more ease going into law school, receiving that confirmation from God about this is the place that I have for you. And so, praying and keeping God close has been so important for me in every stage of my life. And having that everyday communication with him is huge. I think you're on mute, Pastor.
So sorry. So when you step into the courtroom, whatever space you're going into those board meetings where, all these big shots are, you walk in with your God.
That's right.
And I'm sure you have a proud mama.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. There's reason to be grateful to God. I'm not saying proud in a puffed up way, but in a way that wow, God, you did it. And counsel, do you know that there are some people, gen protestant toujou kap di, non, bon jan protestant, bon jan chrétien, pas jan avocat.
Oui.
What do you say to that? Bon, men di oui, men ap pale kreol.
It's
So di nan sa. So di, non, 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 non. Gen de metye protestant, chrétien pa ka fe. Non, 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 non.
yes.
So di nan sa. But in every domain, every area, bon Dieu gen yun.
Amen. It's so interesting that you say that. So when I said that I was nervous and I kept praying so hard going into law school, it's because I
Mkonon ta pral derap an kreol, oui, Jean te di,
oh I
oui. I thought you were gonna take off in Creole, girl. Come on. We're about to close, so I need to hear some Creole. Come
I
on.
know I'm trying to say it's gonna be so broken. I'm so nervous. That's funny. Um Teddy, I was involved in campus ministry. If he l'église lam te involved with, they had that same thought. Yo te di, oh, I had one particular, I'm not going to say toute l'église lam, but one particular mentor na l'église lan te dim, oh, mba kwe sa, bon Dieu gen sa pou. Paske mba ka we sa pou vi ou. And I'm like, okay, did you pray? Did God tell you that? Bon Dieu ba di ou sa, pou sa wap di, ou pa kwe se sa bon Dieu gen pou mwen. And it's because li te gen mem, that same mentality, mem thought sa. And he didn't express that, but it was very much a mbakwe se sa. And so I just was so nervous because I was so sure avocat is what I was going to be. So kunyam te di, bon Dieu, mutwim, give me confirmation. And he did. And in fact, and I could tell you I could tell you that, share with you the form of confirmation, but there was an evening where I went to a prep course, and they had a raffle where they were giving out, where they were allowing you to, they raffled off and you would win a free, it's not a mentor, but someone who would look at all of your documents to help prepare you and get you into law school. So all your personal statement, your tabgade tutsa, they redline the documents. We talked earlier, you talked about the other individual who spoke in the last episode, lack of resources. But I didn't have anybody who could, redline and who could tell me, it's ça qui le kolabokayo, it's ça yo vle we. No, personal statement. It's ça yo vle we. And so I won that raffle. I was like, wow, God, I am supposed to go to law school. And I had just been praying about that. I was like, oh, okay, this is what you have for me. And so I was just over the moon. I was thrilled. And, but that was a thought. And so what I would say to chrétien yo qui dit ça, non, chrétien ka nan tout bagay. Chrétien ka nan avocat, docteur, and it's required. We need to be everywhere because we have to be in those spaces to shine, the light of Christ. We have to be.
Autrement, comment on va le faire différence?
We.
How you gonna make a difference if you're not there? If you leave the space to everybody else and their mama, and
Uh-huh.
then we don't have a say, we don't have a word, we're not at the table, we don't count. Don't cry when yo di TPS, yo pral suspend tout TPS,
We.
pa gon voix qui pou camper, qui pou di non,
Yeah.
I'm a Haitian born descent, da 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 da, qui pou
Yes.
defend nous, then don't cry because you don't have
Exactly.
anybody. Alors c'est
Mhm.
blanc pral pran ka pou, qui pral di non, nou bezwen pou TPS la rete, non. So
Mhm.
Haitien kandan, okay, son coalition of Haitian lawyers, association, division, whatever you call it, it's an Altanese panelist who's sitting on the board of governors who's going to be carrying on that case. Come on now,
That's
people.
right.
Isn't
And I'm
that
proud to
right?
say, and I'm proud to say, since you're talking about that, that as the Haitian Lawyers Association was a part of the litigation filing the lawsuit against the federal government to make sure TPS was not ended for Haitians. And obviously, that was successful, thankfully. And so many people of Haitian descent were not displaced because of that lawsuit, and so several other lawsuits that were similar to that one that were filed across the country when the Trump administration tried to end it, which is a huge. It was a scary time for so many Haitians and other groups, El Salvador, and other groups as well. But thankfully, we were able to keep that from happening.
And you wiped it out. You erased it, and now people are still here making a life for themselves instead of being thrown back or deported back to Haiti. Thank you so much for your service to the community. Thank you
Yes.
for thinking about our own. Could be your mother, right?
Mhm.
Or auntie, or thank you so much for that. Why did you choose FIU Law
Ooh,
School?
the
We
loss.
don't want to let you go. It's almost 8:30, okay? They're loving you. They want to keep you. Guys, please share. Please share. This is what we're doing on Thursday night. Share this. The beautiful young woman who's very successful in her career and down to earth and love God. Let's go.
I chose FIU Law School because, well, one, I went to FIU for undergrad, and two, I knew that FIU was this huge up and coming law school. It had already had all of these accolades and was jumping with aggressive numbers in terms of like, top law schools. And so you would just see the FIU jumping. And now, as you may know, the law school is in the top 100. We've gotten the number one bar passage rate in Florida for like 5 or 6 years in a row. It's just skyrocketed. And so I knew that this is the place I wanted to be. FIU has always felt like home. And then, of course, with how well the law school had been doing, I just thought, yeah, this is it. I, of course, applied to other law schools, UF being one of them, but I ultimately went with FIU.
So very much, Dr. DuVernay, saying that you are an icon for our youth. And may we please connect you with Stacy Bazil,
Absolutely.
your your Go Panther girl.
That's right. Absolutely. For my cell, email, everything. Never mind.
All right, all right. Thank you so much for that. And in closing, I want to put a remark by our own Dr. DuVernay's husband. I believe it starts with us. We must create a platform that encourages the very best in others and pray that it will pay dividends in long terms in the long run. How true is that?
Mhm.
When you, as a young attorney on the board of whether it's a Haitian Lawyers Association or the governors or the county seat commissioner, is able to help and invest in young ones coming up, that will pay dividend in the long term, in the long run for our people as a community that we are. All right.
Mhm.
So, any last words that you would love to say to the audience? Again, guys, thank you for letting us in your home. Um, please love it right now. Please give counsel a thumb up. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. As she gives us her last words. Let's go, and then share. There is a Miss V who's saying, "So proud of you, Altonese."
Thank you.
All
And
right. So please like. Let's go. Please like. Let's go. Please, please, please like it and share as council's given us her last word for the night. All right.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for having me. This was a great conversation. I appreciate it. I'm always thrilled to talk to the community, speak with other young people who are interested in the law or just interested in moving their career forward. Um, and I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it.
What was that? What was the last?
I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, really? We do appreciate you too. Thank you. It is mutual. C'est partagé, okay? C'est partagé. Thank you so much. And Stacy's thanking you for your devotion to the community, and she wishes you very, very much more success to come.
Thank you.
Um, Lastly, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ah, that's a great question. I do want to become a judge someday, or that's a thought that's had come to my head. And perhaps that would be where I am soon enough.
Well, all the best to you. You
Thank
can
you.
do it. May
Thank you.
Philippians 4, verse 13 be with you. You can do all things. I'm
Thank
sure you know it through
you.
Christ who strengthens you.
Amen.
God bless you. Again, guys, thank you so much for being. Council, thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It was great. We appreciate your presence. We appreciate your likes. We appreciate your comments, your questions, and your share. If you have not yet subscribed to Sarah Batroni YouTube channel, please do so you can be with us on Thursday Night Lives where we learn, we get information, we get educated about different issues. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow morning, God's willing. Tomorrow's Friday morning for prayer. All right. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you. May the Lord give you his grace. May the Lord turn his face towards you. May the Lord give you his peace in the mighty name of Jesus. Good night. God bless you. Yes.